Hi, fight fans, and welcome back to LL Sports TV. Hope you're all doing well. Just seen the domestic light heavyweight clash between Croydon's Joshua Buatsi and Derbyshire's Zach Parker at the Co-op Arena up in Manchester in the north of England. I said previously on the channel when I did a video previewing this fight that it was a crossroads fight, given the ages of the two fighters and given the relative unfulfilled potential of both fighters coming into this one. Gotta say, watch the fight, and it wasn't a great one. Normally, we have domestic fights that are humdinger affairs, back and forth, ebb and flow, excitements, knockdowns. There was none of that in this fight, unfortunately. Pretty drab affair. But I've got to say, right at the outset, I did watch the fight on Dazn, and that commentary team consisted of, I think it was Carl Frampton, Adam Smith. Who else did? They had, who's the guy? Darren Barker. And normally these guys are normally pretty spot on with their commentary. However, I've got to say on this occasion, what were they talking about? I mean, what are we doing here, bro? Like, these guys had Zach Parker winning the fight, and I just could not believe what I was watching or what I was listening to, because I've got to be honest, man, Zach Parker was so negative in there. He was on the back foot from the opening bell. He didn't want to engage. And these guys were trying to make out like this was some kind of prime time Muhammad Ali stroke Sugar Ray Leonard tactics. Kept flopping to the floor. I mean, I've got to say as well, the referee was awful. He didn't do his job, and he allowed Zach Parker to get away with holding, excessive holding, flopping to the floor, moving away. It was dreadful refereeing. And the poor performance of the referee can only be matched by the DAZN commentary team. I thought was so biased, it was unbelievable. Now, don't get me wrong, Joshua Buatsi tonight did not perform well. I think he'd be the first one to admit that. He was well below his best. He looked a bit flat in there. He was throwing single shots at times. He was coming forward in straight lines. He wasn't letting his hands go enough. But he was the aggressor. He took the center of the ring. He was throwing jabs. He was looking to assert control. Most of the good punches that were landed in this fight came from him. He hurt Parker to the body a few times, which was why Parker was flopping to the floor. I mean, I couldn't understand what the DAZN were going on about. The DAZN commentary team tonight, honestly, I don't know what their man were on, because seriously, I don't know what fight they were watching, because honestly, I thought Buatsi won the fight, and I thought he won it clearly. I thought he won by at least 3 rounds. You simply cannot reward a fighter in a professional ring, especially boxing at the top level, by just moving away, being negative, pot shotting here and there. Yes, a couple of Zach Parker's punches did land. There were a couple of rounds that I thought he won. I thought he won maybe 3 rounds, 4 at the absolute most. Absolute most. He was too negative. In the second half of the fight, he was visibly tiring. But what he did was to hold and spoil. And because Buatsi wasn't on his game, Buatsi found it difficult to land the punches that would have got him a much cleaner win. I was a bit disappointed with the corner work as well from Joshua Buatsi. I think Virgil Hunter, and I've noticed this before with Virgil, he's a very good coach, but I think sometimes in the corner, he lacks a bit of urgency. If I was Joshua Buatsi's corner, chief cornerman for this fight, I've been saying to him, listen, man, you need to step it up. You need to let your hands go. Don't allow this guy to try and nick the fight, because essentially that's what Zach Parker was trying to do. Buatsi was clearly the aggressor. He was on the front foot for literally the whole fight. So you got to reward him for that. He landed the better punches. Yes, Parker did land some good counters. There were times when Parker did counter quite well. I saw him throw a couple of good shots to the body. But most of his tactics were spoiling tactics. Most of his tactics were moving around the ring. As soon as Buatsi got in close, he would hold. He wasn't working inside. He was waiting for the referee to come in and split them up. And then when Buatsi did go to the body or did try to work inside, invariably, Zach Parker would flop to the floor. And the referee kept warning him. And I'm thinking sooner or later he's going to take a point off. And he didn't. And I thought it was frustrating for me to watch. So I can only imagine what Joshua Buatsi must have felt in there. His corner, to be fair, Virgil Hunter was trying to gain the referee's attention and say, look, he's holding, he's flopping to the floor. But the referee, all to no avail. He just allowed Zach Parker to do it. And I mean, I've got to say, it wasn't a very good fight. I was watching it thinking, I'm so glad this fight is only 10 rounds or not 12, which is what I expected the fight would be at. I thought it would be a 12 rounder. It was a 10 rounder. Thank God for that, because of a very drab affair. I mean, there was a fight on the undercard, a light heavyweight fight between Lyndon Arthur and Bradley Ray. That was an excellent fight. But this one, oh man, it stunk the joint out, I've got to say. And Joshua Buatsi, listen, I thought he won the fight and I thought he won it clearly, but he's not getting off the hook either, because I don't know what happened to him tonight, man, but he seemed flat. I don't know whether he's overtrained or what, or maybe he's got the voices of the loss to Callum Smith ringing in his head, but this was not a good display at all. And again, Joshua Buatsi gets hit a little bit too much for me. I mean, in the Zach Parker was very sparing the amount of punches that he threw, but he did catch Buatsi at times, flush, by shots that Buatsi should not have been caught with. So that is still an area of Joshua Buatsi's game that needs a lot of work on. And at his age, 32, I'm not so sure how he's going to correct that. And yes, I thought he clearly won the fight tonight, but that's not because I thought he boxed particularly well. In fact, I would give his performance a 6 out of 10 at the very most. It was more how bad Zach Parker was, how negative Zach Parker was. Maybe if Zach Parker had a bit more belief and confidence in his work and stood his ground and let his hands go, he may well have won this fight tonight, because that's how bad Joshua Buatsi looked. He looked well off it, but at the end of the day, I will credit Joshua Buatsi with at least he was in there trying to make the fight. He was on the front foot. He was the aggressor for pretty much the whole night. He did land some good shots to the body. He missed quite a bit with the right hands and the left hooks. But he was throwing a lot of jabs. But yeah, you got to reward the aggressor, man. The man that's trying to make the fight, the man who's least in there trying to win. I didn't think Zach Parker showed enough urgency. I think he was trying to nick the fight. Those tactics became apparent after around about rounds 2 or 3, because you always give fighters a couple of rounds to, get used to the pace of the fight, download the data, as we call it. But I was expecting him to start showing more, Zach Parker that is, and he didn't. And he will be kicking himself tonight, because he actually caught Josh Buatsi on a night that was a bad off night for Joshua Buatsi. And yet Zach Parker is leaving the ring tonight, the loser, when really, if he'd have put the effort in, shown a bit more belief in himself, showed a bit more fighting spirit, I think he probably could have won, because, as I said, Josh Buatsi was well below par. I'm not going to go as far as to say he's finished, but it was a poor performance. I mean, he really was. I mean, he didn't let his hands go enough, like I said. Followed Zach Parker around the ring way too much. Should have showed a lot more urgency. But having said that, like I said, I thought he still did more than enough to win the fight. And he's got to step his game up, because whoever they put him in with next, I think is going to be a lot better than Zach Parker was tonight. Now, Zach Parker left the ring without giving a in-the-ring interview. Now, I'm assuming from that he's disappointed and he thought he won the fight. But I've got to be honest, Zach, if you're watching this, mate, nah, I didn't think you won the fight at all. I mean, one of the judges had the fight a draw. The other 2 judges had it 96-94, which I could, such was the amount of spoiling going on. Maybe Zach Parker did nick a couple of the rounds, but me personally, if I'm scoring that fight, I would struggle to give him more than 2 or 3 rounds. He simply did not do enough. And for the commentary team to be carrying on like Zach Parker put on some kind of boxing clinic, I thought their commentary was disgraceful. I really did. I think going into the 9th round, I think Carl Frampton only gave Joshua Buatsi 1 round. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, oh my gosh. You know what? I'd love to know what you guys think, man. Please put it in the comments, because from where I was seated and what I was watching, when I heard these guys, Darren Barker, Carl Frampton and Adam Smith, talking about how well Zach Parker was boxing and how he was winning round after round, I honestly thought I was hearing things, because I could not comprehend what they were talking about. Because the guy was, I wouldn't say running, like, you know, running, middle distance running. But it was excessive movement and not enough punches, not enough aggression. This is professional boxing at the highest level. I don't think you can reward a guy who's just moving excessively, pot shotting here and there, not showing any real belief or any conviction in his work. As soon as the fighters get in close, he's holding, spoiling, flopping to the floor. You know, I don't think you can reward that. Nah, not for me, mate. Not for me. I mean, I know boxing is a very subjective sport, but you simply, in my view anyway, you cannot reward a guy for boxing like that, especially at this level, especially where titles are concerned. You know, in effect, this was a former world title eliminator. There's no way you should be saying that Zach Parker won that fight if you're being true to real boxing beliefs. Nah, not at all. So you got to say well done to Joshua Buatsi. He won the fight. It was, like I said, it wasn't his best night. It wasn't a great performance. It wasn't a great fight. In fact, it was a pretty poor fight, to be honest. I expected a lot more. I really thought this was going to be a bit of a humdinger. It was far from that. But, you know, as I said also in my preview, loser goes home. And at least Josh Buatsi, with the W, he will get another opportunity to show what he's worth at the top level. I would imagine his next opponent, I imagine Virgil Hunter and that lot will be scouting them, doing their due diligence to make sure that it's not another Zach Parker type opponent. Although I didn't expect Zach Parker to do this. I thought he was going to come and show out because, you know, I mean, his career is on the line tonight. So very negative from him. And yeah, very disappointing performance. That wasn't impressed at all, mate. I don't know who devised those tactics, but as far as I'm concerned, they got the tactics very wrong. But anyway, shout out to Joshua Buatsi. He won the fight, deserved winner. Don't see what the Dazn commentary did. They were the losers tonight, by the way. They were awful. But yes, Joshua Buatsi goes on. I suspect he'll have another big fight and maybe fight for a world title after that. But on this performance, he'll have to level up because this wasn't a good performance at all, and it was far from a good fight. But anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think. Please leave it in the comments. Let me know what you think. Have I got it wrong? What do you think of the Dazn guys? Did they get it wrong? Did the right man win? Do you think Zach Parker won? And if you thought Zach Parker won, by the way, I'd love you to just add a little couple of lines and say why you thought he won. So I'd be interested in that. But anyway, thanks so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, please like, share and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. I am out.